vehicle that we're going to be working on today is a 2006 Dodge Charger. I want to show you step by step how to remove the AC condenser. Pretty much involves removing the front bumper assembly as well. So I'll go by step, showing some locations, some bolts, some nuts that you need to pay attention to. And with that, let's move on to step one. Alright, working from the top area of the upper bumper cover on this Dodge Charger, we're going to go ahead and start getting the plastic push pin type fasteners that hold it along the top edge. There's going to be a total of 8 of those. And once we get those off, we're going to go ahead and work on the 2 closeout panels up top. The fasteners are your typical push pins, almost like a reusable plastic rivet. They're fully seated on the vehicle, so you'll grab a tool, anything you can get up under, you'll pull the top half up to where it stops, and then you pull the whole assembly out. This particular vehicle, we had problems getting them out. They've been in there for so long, so once the heads broke off the plastic fasteners, we just got a hammer and a punch and just knocked the centerpiece out and pulled it out. Going back, I'll try to find some that I can use. If I can't, then I'll probably just go back with plastic rivets across the top edge. So I've already got the 8 loose. Now we're just going to unsnap the 2 plastic covers. Lay them to the side. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to move on to the side of the vehicle. We're going to get to the fender well area and get those loose, and we're going to work across the bottom edge and the fender well area on the other side as well. And then we're going to work on getting this off. At this point, I've gone ahead and raised the vehicle up so I can show you some things a little bit easier. I've gone ahead and turned the steering wheel all the way to the right, and I'm currently working on the driver's side front. There are 3 plastic rivets that come from the factory. If the bumper's been off before, they may have put something else in its place. But you'll have one here, here, and here. You can try to cut the heads off with some side dikes and get them off that way. You can try to knock the pin through the center with a pick and a hammer. Or you can try drilling out the center with a small drill bit. Either way, you need to get these 3 off both sides. And then along the bottom edge, the lower air dam assembly has 3 push pins. One's here, one's at the front of this tire, and one on the back side. You need to get those 3 push pins off. It's just a matter of pulling the center of the pin out, pull the assembly off. Once you've got that loose, you need to go ahead and gain access to a 10mm bolt that's hidden by the splash shield. Now we've got that loose. We want to repeat the same procedure on the other side. And once we've got that done, we're going to go up under and we're going to go ahead and take a couple more fasteners loose. Right now we've got the vehicle up in the air. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gain access to the 2 10mm bolts that hold the front lower air dam to the bottom belly pan. Now for one, you can take all the screws loose in the front here. But you're looking at approximately 8 to 10 screws. I just leave the front lower bumper cover attached to the front bumper. The lower air dam to the front bumper and take it off in one piece. That way I don't have to worry about fighting with all these screws. At this point we're going to go ahead and start dropping it back down and we're going to start working that bumper cover off. Alright, in the front cover of the bumper, the front corner of the vehicle, where the bumper meets the fender, there's actually going to be a 10mm bolt up in here on both sides. That's going to attach you to the top edge, so we're going to work on getting these loose on both sides. I showed you how to get the 10mm bolt that was directly in this area here at the corner edge of the front bumper and the fender. That's where the 10 came out. There's actually a 10mm nut that's down here as well that you need to get loose. It's not very tight. Once you get turned just a little bit, you can take it off by hand, but you will need to get that loose as well. And then that would be the last bolt we need to take off. And then we'll go ahead and start pulling off on the fender. Alright, so at this point we've got the 10mm bolt out from inside the fender well liner. We've got the 10mm nut off the stud in this general location inside. We've got the 10mm bolt from up under here off as well. Now what we're going to do is We'll grab a hold of this corner of the bumper cover, unsnap it from where it's mounted, start working it out. Now that's still a 10mm nut protrudes through here. So we're going to pull this back. And when we pull this back, this side marker is going to pop off. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually mounted to the bumper cover, not the lens. So when it pops off, we're just going to disconnect it and set it to the side. There you go. Set it to the side. Now this one does have fog lights on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and unplug them as I'm doing it. And then we'll go ahead and move on with that. Inside. And the other side. Now we got the bumper cover removed. Now we can get that. If we need to replace the headlamp assembly, or in this case, we're actually going to do the condenser. Now with the front bumper cover out of the way, now we can gain access to the condenser itself. On both sides of the condenser, there's going to be some flexible, almost rubbery type closeout panels here, and one over here. Now this one over here, I've gone ahead and took loose. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to take it loose. On this side, there's actually two plastic fasteners. Once again, they're push pins. We've got one up here. Get out. Alright. And then directly underneath, there's actually not these two that you see here, but there's one directly up under. We're going to get to. Now, being that it's so flexible, it's just going to be a matter of working it out. We'll go ahead and try to position it to where we can get it out behind this bumper cover. There we go. Now from here, we're going to work on getting to a 10mm bolt here, as well as over here. And then there's going to be one in both corners down here. And then all we got to do is actually unhook the trans cooler lines as well as the AC lines, because not only is this a condenser for the AC, this is also serving as the cooler for the transmission. The upper portion here is actually trans cooler related, and the bottom two are actually going to be the two lines you see right here. The bottom half from here on down is the AC condenser. There's actually a cooler that's snapped on place, which is not going to really bother us too much. We're just going to unsnap it. There we go. We're just going to sit it out of the way. It should give us enough access to get the condenser out without having to worry about this being unhooked. The last thing we want to do is have to bleed any lines. So with that, we'll go ahead and start removing the bolts around it and the lines as well. Comes time to get these trans cooler lines loose. There's actually a special tool. When you get to them, there'll be a plastic cover covering up the connector. You'll pop that loose. The inside is a spring clamp. Spring clamp is kind of similar to the ones we used to use a long time ago for the window cranks. This is actually what it's shaped like. It's mounted inside that housing right here. There's some different tools on the market that are allowed to go down in there to help release it. They just pretty much sit in place, and you'll turn them slightly, and then you'll try to wiggle the line loose. But not everybody has this tool. If you don't, there's something you can try. You can get to the side of where the little spring is located and get you a small pick and get up under the edge and just kind of pop it up a little bit and start working it around. Now be careful, because once you get to a point, she may want to fly off. And you don't really want to lose this, because you're going to need it to put it back on. Alright, so there's the one we took off. Now it's just a matter of wiggling the line loose and let it come off. Now when you go back on it, you're going to seat this in a position where it sits recessed. There's actually 3 slots inside this fitting here, and each one of these little curved areas needs to be inside that slot. And then once you slide the hose on, you'll feel a nice firm snap, letting you know it's seated. And then you slide this protective cap over, which serves two purposes. Keeps the area clean, and second, keeps that spring collapsed, holding onto the line. So once we get this loose, we'll have our condenser ready to come off, and then it's just a matter of installing the new one. And now all the lines are disconnected. I've got two of the bolts already out that go up under the condenser. Now I just got the upper two holding it in place. I'm going to take those loose, and I can drop the condenser straight out the bottom. So there you go. Now the condenser's out of the car. All we got to worry about doing is transferring this mount right here for that cooler that was mounted on the front. We put it onto the new condenser, and then installation is just the opposite of removal. Now keep in mind, on this vehicle there was a hole in the condenser, so there was no Freon. Now if you're working on this, make sure that you understand there will be Freon in the system. Don't go unhooking the line unless you're experienced and know what you're doing, because you need to have it all removed prior, otherwise you can hurt yourself or do some damage to the vehicle. So this is basically for illustration purposes. If you are a trained mechanic, you already know what to do. If you're not, then you're just using this to understand what's involved when someone does a condenser on your car. Otherwise, just take your time, and all the steps are pretty much of installing it or just reversal of or removal. So there's pretty much nothing else you need to worry about. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching videos. Always stay tuned for more.